Hi. Um, and my name's Haley Minnick. I'm going to be presenting on how culture affects communication. I'm so sorry about not being able to record myself and my PowerPoint at the same time. So I came up with this. I hope this is okay, so just bear with me. I know everything's going to be backwards, but I will point stuff out and talk about it so that way we aren't confused. Anyway, why don't I get started? How culture affects communication. Have you ever been in a situation where you were unable to communicate your thoughts with someone? You're trying to use your hand gestures and looks, different nonverbal communication while communicating to try to get them to understand. It can be really easy to talk to someone who shares the same values as you, the same language, who has the same nonverbal communication as you do. Like I like to talk with my hands a lot. That's one thing that makes it easier for me to communicate with my friends. But often when you're talking to someone outside of your circle or a group, it can be hard and you hit roadblocks because people communicate in different fashions. This can happen because of the way culture can impact how we communicate. We are not born into our cultures. Our cultures are a learned behavior. For example, how much eye contact is too much eye contact? How close can you stand to a person that you just met when having a conversation? How much of your personal life you reveal to your friends? Culture does have many important aspects, but they are constantly changing and evolving. There are 5 dimensions of culture. There is the power distance, uncertainty and avoidance, individualism and collectivism, masculinity and femininity, and time orientation. These all make up how our culture impacts us and how we can define our own culture and others. But there's one dimension that really grabbed my attention when I was writing this speech. Masculinity and femininity. Most cultures you see the feminine, the women, are more soft-spoken, timid, meant to be like a warming presence, while masculinity, men, are taught to be more aggressive, assertive, and meant to be in positions of power. I believe that, especially in the United States, we have been trying so hard to break down that culture barrier. Feminine women are in power. We're showing that we can be more assertive and have more dominance than we have been conditioned to believe and think. And men are starting to break down and become more emotional beings. And I think that's a great example of how culture is constantly changing. And it can really be anything you want it to be. Culture is typically spoken in geographical terms. As you can see, there's a lot of colors on the screen. But it's impossible to determine one specific culture for such a large area and such a large populated area. So as a result, there are co-cultures, which are basically subcultures for a larger, more prominent culture. This is why it can be hard to communicate fluidly with people of varying cultures, which we don't particularly understand. Another impact would be social media on culture. Social media has made it really easy for us to communicate with all cultures almost instantly. Although it's definitely a win-lose. On one end, this is great for others to learn things outside of their culture, finding a way to communicate with others, learn the values you've never even heard of or thought of, being able to share ideas, opinions. Social media has increased these connections between people and created an environment where you can share your opinions, you can share pictures, you can share nearly anything about your life. And it can bring social awareness to a society and interacting and sharing ideas. It can change other cultures by being impacted by other cultures. But there is a downside. This generation is constantly being evolved and overstimulated because of the access to information at the tip of their fingers. Nearly everyone has a phone and is able to Google whatever they want. It has changed kids because they are getting affected by information that they typically would not know until an older age, or bullying, people creating hate groups over someone who has a different culture than them. So although it is good to learn and hear things from other people's perspectives and from their culture, it can also have a downside because of how other cultures feel the need to hate and be negative about things that they don't understand. Culture impacts our lives daily, and I think if we take this opportunity with social media to get to know and learn other cultures and how to spread knowledge instead of hate, we should be able to